Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning. That's right. He's here in all his glory. But even when you look at it, he's like it's one of those Mondays where even Grumpy has like a little smirk on his face over there. With a smirk on his face himself is the Polish Prince. What's happening?
It's what a weekend, what a whirlwind, right? I'm doing well. I think Grumpy, as we know, he's just here by contract only at this point because there is no need to be grumpy. Well, unless we don't get a certain English center back over the line, then we might be a little grumpy. But all in all, happy to be here. Great weekend.
It was a great weekend. I mean, we'll talk from beginning to end, if you will. The game, the Isak deal. I know these last day transfer deals, there's a lot happening. And I'm sure while we're on air, within an hour, there'll be even more happening. So we'll rely on the gang over here in the chat to keep us posted on that stuff as it happens. But Sergi Ryan is there. Both Ryans are there. Good morning to both Ryans. So let's start with the game because I know once we get to the transfer stuff, we will never get back to the game. But really, a kind of a too safe of a game on both sides. Kind of expected that, right? Like for nobody would want to. I mean, nobody ever wants to lose, but like it's almost like people play to not lose in a way. It felt like, but then you knew at halftime it was going to take something special to win that game. Somebody is going to have to do something, and honestly, I don't think any of us thought Szoboszlai, another man of the match performance, I think, even without the goal overall with his play. But I think we were all kind of like expecting maybe like Mo or somebody like that, Gakpo cutting in and stuff, like a moment like that. And then he gets that free kick. And I knew he was going to shoot it. They were like, oh, maybe he wasn't going to shoot it. I'm like, I knew he was going to shoot it, but man, never thought it was going to go in. And the comedy that is almost like the same exact one as we kept watching and making fun of every freaking international break is like ridiculous.
Yeah, it probably one of the best free kicks that I've seen live. There have been plenty of amazing free kicks over the years, like Roberto Carlos's one comes in mind, but I wasn't watching that live, right? I think that's the difference is that I was able to actually see
this. Is it a shot at me? Is this like an A joke again, or what's going on?
No, man, never, not at all.
Well, I did watch that live for your information. Anyway,
so that was the best one you see. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know what. This is a slight tangent. What is the best free kick you've ever seen live?
Oh, man. Hold on. I wasn't prepared.
All right. I'll let you think about that.
I mean, Roberto Carlos won just because of that whole curve alone.
Disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it took a moment of absolute magic from Szoboszlai. And I think I think in my head, I think in many people's heads when he was lining up for that, we were kind of like, here we go again, right? This is going to end up in row Z. Just like any other free kick recently, it feels like. So it was absolutely beautiful. I don't want to sit here and say that it was a well-deserved win from our side because neither side played with much risk. Like you said, both sides were playing just not to lose, and it was a really timid first half. And second half opened up a little bit, of course, as players got tired and changes were made. There were a couple moments here and there, but it just never felt like either side was close to scoring. And like you said, it was going to take one piece of brilliance, and it happened to be from Sobo, which is good to him because he has been sort of not necessarily scapegoated yet, but one of the odd men out, so to speak, from a lot of fans when Wirtz was signed, thinking, well, where is the space for him? The space is wherever there's an opening on the field because this guy can play everywhere. And I think he is such a vital engine to the team overall that it's going to be hard to not put him in the 11 week in, week out.
I think, you can't replace the freaking running he does alone, like the energy that's being sent. So he is like, and Ryan brings it on too. I thought Curtis Jones did really well again. So I think the depth over there is really kind of paying off. And mind you, we're playing our one of our midfielders as a right back right now. And Wirtz has still really not kicked in. Let's be honest. It's still kind of like we're waiting for it to kick in. You see signs here and there, but it's just like a player who's trying to probably do a little bit too much. is what it like feels like. Hey, Galley is flying literally to Vegas right now to, not for reasons you think, it's for business reasons. But I don't know what kind of a business he'll get into once the actual business done. Mr. Batter says still too many. There's going to be even more changes, looks like. But I think, look, in my defense, it has not been like nice, smooth sailing over there. Overall, in terms of like how we play, but what makes these 9 points special out of the first three games is one, we're finding out that Bournemouth actually is a pretty darn good team. We all kind of assumed, oh, they lost all their back line and they could be in danger and stuff. We're seeing now, I mean, they beat Spurs away and stuff, and honestly had more of chances as well. It wasn't like a fluke win. So that's not the easiest matchup, clearly, it looks like. Then you go away to Newcastle, which is a really, really, really tough game, regardless of the situation. And we had all the drama of Isak behind it. And then this Arsenal game. So getting 9 points from that while you're still in the adjustments phase is just unreal, man. It's like well over the top. Never would have thought of it. And then you add Isak to that. And hopefully, as we're maybe on air, Guehi will be announced too. Paul is in. What's going on, man? Welcome aboard. Yeah, John Henry wants his credit card back. What do you make of that, though, in terms of my original fear of the changes, and like how it would affect kind of like how we play?
Yeah, I think I was in the similar boat as you in saying that if you shuffle around a lot of pieces, you've got a handful of guys that have played with each other for 4 or 5 years, and then you've got a handful of guys that have never played together, and then you're trying to mix all that together. Yeah. And while they are all very skilled players, you can think about it even just like, let's say you're playing pickup somewhere, right? You pop onto a field and you've got 11 guys that are very good, but you've never played with each other. And everything just feels a bit more disjointed because you don't know each other's tendencies that well. You don't know where some of these guys like the ball, this and that. So it was going to take time to bed in. But like you're saying, a true testament of league winners are not how you play when you're playing well, but how you play when you're not playing well. Yeah. And the fact that you can get 9 points when most of us, I think, were content anywhere between 5 to 7 to start from the first three. I think in my head, I was thinking, okay, at least 1 win, 2 draws, or 2 wins and a loss, something along those lines I would have been fine with because it was early and we've had all these changes. So the fact that we're able to walk away with all 9 points while not playing as well as we know we will play and adding the second best striker in the league on top of that, it's just silly, I think, and it's exciting.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're like an Arsenal fan, Chelsea fan, whatever, first of all, I know what thought you're thinking. But second of all, you're looking at this and you're going to say, they're only freaking going to get better. And for us to be able to get these results while we're trying to still figure things out has to be a scary concept for them. So I think that's what makes these like, getting 3 points, even when it's not pretty. I mean, yesterday's game, I thought it was like really well played defensively. So yesterday's game is probably like different than like the Newcastle game where the second half you were like, what the hell is going on? And it was more about us knowing how to win and having that maturity and stuff that won you the game, which would have normally been a really tough away game, probably one of your toughest away games of the season going to St. James Park. And then with all the drama, like you said, I mean, they're like a good team on top of that. So as a former Giants symbol, you're welcome for taking that $283 million off of FSG's hands. Yeah, I still don't think they're ever related. I know people always say this, like they're spending it here, now they're going and spending it there and stuff like that. But I think, look, they've done, I mean, we'll talk about, like Elliott leaving and stuff like that. There have been a lot of sales. And if you notice, Slot keeps talking about that as well, that, there are a lot of people who left. And for good money as well. Yeah, I mean, I know Sox fans do. Yeah, whenever. I mean, let's face it, we did too. Whenever they sign someone, they're like, I guess we're not getting anybody and stuff like that. Kirkes, yes, after giving him a lot of crap about how he played against Elanga, I thought he did really well 1v1 defending. I'm still shocked with occasional, like, he looks slower than I remembered him to be. Is it
Yeah.
just me? Like he almost feels like his arms are moving faster than his legs or something. It's just like a weird thing where it's just like glitchy graphics in a computer game where he's not going as fast as he should.
And he starts glitching a little bit, and then he ends up at the end of the box where he's
Yeah.
supposed to be out of nowhere and blocks the shot, and you're like, what happened there? But yeah, I totally agree. He looks sometimes like he's running through cement, like it looks like he's trying so hard, but he's not going very fast, very far. But yeah, he was outstanding. I think, I don't know. I got a little annoyed the first 2 weeks when he was getting comparisons to some fullbacks that we've had in the past that have been absolute garbage. And it was a little disappointing to see that a player who was voted by his players, by his co-workers essentially, as the best left back in the league last year. I know not all of us put as much stock in the PFA as others, but there is something to be said about the players voting you so highly as opposed to just regular pundits or the fans. And I think it is just going to take time. When you have to adjust half of your back line and you're playing without your starting right back that you expected to play with, and you're trying to bet in with Van Dijk to your right now, and then you're also playing with a Konate who seems to be so hot and cold, you might try and overdo it and do too much to make up for that. And I think that was the issue the first 2 weeks, is I think there was just too much emotion and too much of, he felt like he needed to almost be the hero then rather than just play within himself. I think that was the big thing yesterday, was he played within himself. And it's not like, I know Saka is one of the best right wingers in the league, but it's not like Madueke is trash, right? So it's not like he went up against inferior wingers. I think Madueke is better than Elanga personally. I know Elanga puts up better numbers, but I like the pace of Madueke a bit better. So I think he did really well because he played within himself and didn't do too much.
Yeah, I think it helps that Madueke's biggest strength is speed. So once you are able to kind of close down the angle and get in front of him, I thought he did really good 1v1 defending. Against Elanga, it was pretty rough, where every single time Elanga could put the ball in and stuff, I'm like, dude, what is going on? Speed and all that kind of stuff. I think you're right, though. One, we had higher expectations of him in terms of just slotting right in. I think the expectation was he'll just come in. He's already a Premier League player. No adjustment period needed. You put him in there and he plays. And I think, one, he tried to do too much. And two, it's not as simple as that when it's a whole new back line and a whole new system. And I think you're right, where he's probably trying to over impress. And how do you impress fans and people in general? You make those runs up top and stuff. So he cut out a position a lot of times. Even yesterday, one time I only saw him one time where that's when he looked slow trying to catch up and stuff. But yeah, I thought he had a good game yesterday, which is really good going into this international break, because you do need some confidence, because he's still a young kid as well. And I'm sure for him, he's like, maybe I'm good enough for Bournemouth. I'm not good enough for this. That has to be always in your mind. This is this is the top level kind of a deal. So
he's
go ahead.
He's younger than Harvey Elliott. And, we always talked about, or we recently been talking about how much, we need to give the younger players a benefit of the doubt, right? And give them a chance. And we're slating this guy 2 games in, because he's in one of the biggest clubs of the world, and trying to find his place within it. And that's not an easy task.
Yeah, and I think, if you're someone like us who's worried about the adjustment period and stuff like that, and counted on that side not to have any adjustment period, it kind of increases the panic a lot more earlier than it probably should. But I mean, that was only 2 games. And honestly, this is another game. So still have to give it time. And I think it will still get better as it goes. But I think Ryan was saying earlier in the comments, it is odd that I do feel like this international break, usually when you're in a run of wins, you do not want an international break to be there. But I feel like this comes at a good time. I think not only... I mean, the problem with a team like Liverpool is when you have the international break, it's not like, oh, okay, now let's work on stuff. Everybody's gone. But I think it gives time for Slot and his gang to work on some stuff and figure out okay, this is what we saw. It's totally different what you see in summer and what you see now. I think it's kind of like gives them time to figure out, okay, we should probably be doing this, we should probably be doing this with this crew, kind of a deal. Good morning, Adam. Yes. I think Sir Z mentioned a source earlier, Paul Gerst, saying that Guehi is currently having his medical, and that would be, I think, icing on the cake over here. Obviously, we'll talk about the Isak stuff as well. But if Isak deal is done, so we'll talk about the impact of that. But if Guehi is done as well, adding the outgoings and everything, is this like almost like a 10 out of 10? Nothing is perfect, so 9.5 out of 10 kind of a transfer window.
I don't think we can ever, not ever, I don't think we can say 10 until we look back in 3 years, because I don't think you can judge a transfer window during the transfer window. You have to judge the transfer window from the future. I mean, not like we can't go into the future and look back, right? But we have to look back eventually to see how it panned out. So for me, it's a 9.9 out of 10 if Guehi comes in. Now, if Gomez also leaves with Guehi coming in, I think it's a 9.8, because I really think that we still need that center back depth. And if anything, just a little bit more cover across the back line potentially. And Gomez is like a Swiss Army knife in that sense, that he could play across that back line, and you need guys like that. But also we have to remember that all these players, they want to play, and the club wants to do right by them. And if that means sending him to Italy, then so be it.
Yeah, a lot of like 10s. Ryan is giving it 9 because, I mean, the good thing is he's on loan technically, so he's not going to play against us. So I think that's like a double bonus over there that everybody's forgetting. Dara says if he compares to what we did before, it's a 10. Cersei is trying to figure out your math. That's too many numbers for Cersei in the first place. Yeah, I think I did see this morning that like the Gomez thing might not be happening at the end, but
there's the here we go for Marc Guehi.
Here we go is there.
35 million plus 10% sell-on clause included in the package.
Dude, what the hell? What kind of a world are we living in?
You know what's amazing about all of this still, guys? Our net spend this summer, after these two deals, is still less than Arsenal's net spend this summer.
That's freaking crazy by itself. And here's the thing, though. Like, I mean, should we not expect any transfers for the next 3 years? Because here's another deal. Like, all these guys are young as well. So, like, yeah, just don't worry about anything for a while over here. But it is just ridiculous to see. Dude, this was like an awesome start to the season the way it is. And then you are adding a top center back, and you're adding like the best striker in the league last season to this team. I hate to say it's more best. I mean, we did it. Yeah, there's your 0.8.
I said 9.9 or 9.8. So there wasn't a. It was nearly a 10.
How are FSG per? This is more. This goes to more Galley, because here's the thing. I mean, I don't know. You might know a bit more about this. I definitely know because don't follow or care about baseball. I get my FSG Red Sox news from Galley, which I know this is the best source, but I get it from Galley either way because I'm not going to be bothered enough to do. Do you follow baseball worlds? Good for you. Good for you.
It goes on. There are too many games for me to care about what goes on in that world. But I think I will take that question a little bit, because I believe I'm going to sound like such a pretentious fan for a moment, but with success comes fandom. And as we went through the Klopp era, there's no surprise that we inherited a lot of new fans of this club. Mm-hmm. And so I think these fans, these newer fans who are in the States, who are used to really big numbers, when we talk about, let's say, basketball and baseball, those are huge contracts that these guys get. Some of these guys in basketball specifically get 60 million a year, right? That is a lot of money a year. And when we think about what City does and the 4 straight titles they had and them spending money, I think some of these fans here were looking at that going, well, FSG is so cheap. Why aren't they paying money? Why aren't they paying money? And so I think there was a big idea of that here with US. Not that there wasn't over in England as well, right? In Liverpool, I'm sure there were plenty of fans who wanted FSG to spend money, but I think here that was part of it, because you were comparing it to the spending of other clubs, thinking, well, why don't we just do that? And so I think there was a lot of harsh reaction to FSG because they were comparing it to what they're seeing now, not what they had seen previously.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of it that way. That's a good point. It's not that pretentious. I was hoping for something better. But I was really hoping for like a snobbier take. But no, I mean, there's probably some truth to that. I never thought of it like that. I mean, maybe, yeah, like, over here, some owners or like, like they go to win, like go above the salary cap, blah, blah, blah. Like they're always, whatever is in basketball and stuff. So I can kind of see that. But I think, yeah, the bigger part is, I think, the comparison. Like when you look at, what City was doing, what Chelsea is doing and stuff like that. And especially like, see, this is the American way over here. Like, he goes over there and buys everybody like baseball, like signs them to 10-year contracts and stuff like that. So that's probably a big part of it. Gorda says FSG out because they will never surpass this high. Leave it on top. Just walkouts, mid drop, and be like, we're done over here. Nobody will ever beat this. Ozan says because American fans want instant gratification. It's in our culture.
I don't know if I agree with that.
A lot of like trust the process thing going over here.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. When you think about the fans of the Big Six in England, don't they consistently yearn and cry for success year in, year out? You don't think Man United fans want instant gratification with every move they make? So I don't think I think there's truth to American fans wanting instant gratification, but it's not like it's different overseas. I think, especially if you're part of a bigger club. Now, if you're supporting a smaller club, then yeah, you're not going to get that instant gratification. There's more of that slow build to it. But if you are a fan of a United, a fan of an Arsenal, a fan of a Liverpool, fan of a Man City now, you only accept instant gratification because the club is that big.
Yeah, I mean, the expectations are always different, right? Even if you are, I don't know, like I say, American sports are different. There's like literally like windows in most cases where you win and stuff. There's the process to get to that window and all that kind of stuff. So when they, let's say, I don't know, get the first pick and get a guy and stuff, I think, like you're like, oh, we just want to see an improvement, want to make a playoff run, blah, blah, blah. Like you understand that it's going to take steps. I feel like it's not like that in soccer for most fans of the bigger clubs, like you're saying. But like if you listen to the panel, that's why I find the panel conversations very like fascinating at times to hear that perspective and stuff. Like if you're like you talk to Alex, who's a Fulham fan, right? Or if you talk to Shay, who's a Villa fan, their expectation and how they look at the season is totally different. Yes, the expectation is to get better all the time, otherwise what's the point? But I think in terms of like, they're not like, oh, we're gonna win this year kind of a deal. It's always, maybe we can call it realistic expectations, but there's like a limit to the expectations. Maybe going back to Dara's Diamondbacks over there. Adam, are you not entertained? Adam wants
we want more.
Anyone else? Actually, the funny thing is there were like talks yesterday, like there might be another surprise one or something like that, but more for depth than anything else. But I mean, just close the doors and lock them and say this is it, right? It just feels like, what else? I know people are saying midfield, that we still don't have enough depth in midfield, and obviously for those people, we probably added more concern selling Elliott. To me, the selling of Elliott almost says we feel Nioni has a higher ceiling and can get that spot long term over Elliott.
I think that's a fair
I would
point.
take Kenan Yildiz. Now, see, I would take Kenan Yildiz now as depth, but I don't think we can afford Kenan Yildiz, unfortunately.
We can afford whoever we want.
We can afford whoever we want, I guess. I don't know if we would pay for Kenan Yildiz. Let me go that way.
Yeah.
Bowen, we're still talking to Villa about Rodgers.
Some are claiming.
I mean, here's the thing. I can see, I think somebody mentioned it in there, like some kind of like a Wirtz Kwanzaa kind of a deal happening with Rodgers and Elliott and stuff like that. But I don't think this loan wouldn't let that happen. It will be next season. Why don't you guys give us this for this, and then we'll give them all that. Wait till next week, and we will talk about loans or out of favorite guys in winter window. Yes, don't get me started on that. Give me at least 2 months. Honestly, I started this transfer season for the first time in a long time, excited because, you know, these guys were going to coming in. A lot was going to be happening and stuff. But then the last 2 weeks, it's just been like, oh my God, let's get to the first and get this done and over with. I guess let's start with that Isak thing then. It's not like the biggest surprise was like, oh, yes, like we got Isak or whatever. But I think we were afraid that it was never going to happen.
It certainly dragged, right? And we were getting to that point where maybe stubbornness from either side was going to make the deal not go through. And I think part of it, in the end, it was a lot of posturing from Newcastle in the sense of making themselves look as good as they could before they sold him as well. Because they went through a significant media battle with a player, unlike what we've seen in at least in recent years, and it wasn't something that was going to be easily salvageable. And so I think part of it is the media team or the Newcastle themselves had to kind of paint themselves as not the bad guy, if you will. And I think they did a good job with that. If you notice their fans chanting what they were chanting about Isak, then it's clear that they got the narrative that they wanted, and then they got the money for him that they wanted, or not. I mean, not what they wanted, but what they felt was fair enough, I guess. So, yeah, it's a huge deal. Obviously, we've broken the British transfer record again. We started the window by breaking it, and we ended the window by breaking it, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, there is a little bit of worry, I think, in my head. Because it's a lot of money to pay. And I said this back in March or April or whatever it was when there were first some talks about it, saying, yeah, it'd be great to have him, but the injury record can be a little bit of a concern. And it is a lot of money to pay, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that money. So all in all, it's exciting, but, you know, we have to wait to see how it plays out. And it's not just automatically, 30 goals scored in the league kind of thing. He's got to bet in still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we see him regularly until the next international break, which I think is October. I think there's like 3 of these back to back over here. AR is right. He's not right in a lot of things he says, but he's definitely right on this one. Do like, share, subscribe. We have over 30 live viewers right now. I didn't even look. I can look. Don't make me look, but I'm assuming there's not 30 thumbs up over there, and there should be. So help us out. Hit that thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to the channel, welcome aboard. Please hit the subscribe as well. I remember, I don't know who this Yimmy is. I was okay with Yim. It's really getting out of control over here. But I did poo-poo you when we were talking about Veers. Times have changed. Okay, first of all, let's face it. Anybody who's over here now gloating, like Cersei himself, never thought we would have a summer like this in his wildest dreams. I don't think any Liverpool fan who would be like, oh, yeah, I knew we were going to do this. Get the hell out of here. You never thought we were going to do all this, because just based on recent history alone, that this was not going to happen. With Wirtz, I thought it was not going to happen when Bayern wants a German. Usually Bayern gets the German, kind of an ordeal. So that was a shocker by itself. The whole Isak thing, I think it goes back to Matush. We didn't know much about the Newcastle owners, because a sensible ownership that is actually thinking the club would be more obviously had to sell him. Like, you're not going to be able to play him. Why have an asset like this? You're not getting 150, but take your 125, 130, and then, like, make that money, use that money and stuff. We just did not know, because let's face it, the ownership, these guys who have bought these clubs, like City, for example, has all that money behind it, but they've been smart enough not to think they know better, and they've gotten like people who know the game, like the Peps and the Guardiola and stuff like that, and said, you know what, here's a lot of money, you make it happen, kind of a deal. I just was worried that Newcastle ownership, these are people who are not used to being told no, or I am not, and stuff like that. So these are the people who go around with chainsaws. So I did not know if they would just do it for spite, or would smarter business minds prevail. I guess that was my only concern with the Isak ordeal.
Yeah, they've never come across a guy like Big Dick Hughes, so it's understandable to see that they didn't know what they were in for.
Yeah. AI says, why buy Primpine when we have Szoboszlai? I mean, to be fair, I think Slot said this is like the third time or whatever he play right back. I know we experimented in the preseason, but that was due to injuries and stuff like that. It was just that. So imagine dealing with Ekitike for 70 million, then Isak comes on. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be ridiculous. I'm assuming, what do you expect to see in the long run? Because here's another thing. I know we were pulling receipts in Discord. When we got Ekitike, everybody was like, well, we're not getting Ekitike and Isak. So I guess that Isak thing is ordeal, including yourself. I did too. It just did not make sense to me. But what do you expect to see? I mean, initially, it's easy, right? As this guy didn't have a preseason, so he slowly starts. Maybe, it's the 60-30. We don't have the drop off. I mean, like we have now when we take off Ekitike, it's going to be Isak coming in instead and stuff. But let's say come November, what do you expect to see? Assuming Ekitike is going like how he started, and I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's partly why I was not necessarily against the idea of bringing in Isak when we brought in Ekitike, but not necessarily understanding why we'd also bring in Isak when we had Ekitike back when I did. And I think if Isak had a regular preseason and he was playing week in, week out with Newcastle, I think it could change what we expect out of him right away. But like you're saying, it's going to take some time for him to get back to match fitness necessarily. So, because he's just been training on his own, and Lord knows what his fitness was like before. So, I mean, as long as it's not like a Chiesa deal where we don't see him until February, March, or whatever the case might be, that would be a little ridiculous. But I think the thing that is really going to stand out to me is not necessarily what we do through October and November and December. It's what we do when Mo goes to AFCON. Because I think when Mo leaves for AFCON, we will start to see what the future looks like of this club. Because I think with both Ekitike and Isak, you are flirting with this 4-4-2 and the two partnership, kind of going back to like the old school 2000s, two strikers up front playing off each other kind of deal, with the diamond behind them, with Wirtz playing them the ball in. You have Maka and Gravenberch on either side, or sorry, Maka and Szoboszlai on either side, with Gravenberch in the 6, kind of holding that back. And I think that's what I'm most interested about, is what post Mo life will be, because we have to get ready for that. Mo has 1-2 years left at this club, and we'll see what that looks like when he goes to AFCON. But I don't necessarily expect too many changes up until, I'd say, maybe December, January, because of just match fitness. And I think we just use Ekitike and Isak as sort of rotationally one to the other, depending on where we're at in the week.
Yeah, kind of like it's going to be interesting to see. I know a lot of people are automatically shifting it to get to the left and stuff, which is doable. I can kind of see that. But then, I thought Gakpo was pretty good yesterday as well, by the way. That was kind of like a concern I had defensively. And maybe that's why Kirk has looked a lot better too, because I felt like Gakpo was a lot better defensively and worked a lot harder physically off the ball. So I mean, these are good problems to have, because injuries will happen, suspensions will happen. The games are going to come fast and furious once the Champions League starts and stuff like that. So these are definitely great problems to have. Bob, I would not want Messi to come around, even if he wanted to. I'll pass. They got smashed yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, by the way. Suarez apparently spit on somebody, which are we really surprised to hear that? And this is why I have never, ever been a Suarez fan, except when he was bagging in the goals when at least he wasn't like biting people and doing like stuff. Like there are some players, right? Like you like them on the. Somebody just mentioned, I think it was Bob, about like getting Guimaraes out of Newcastle next year and stuff. Like there are players like I think Bruno Guimaraes is one of those guys where he's so freaking annoying. We were talking about this with my brother. I was like, dude, is it the name Bruno or what? And but I feel like with Guimaraes is a guy that if he was on your team, you would really, really like him. That's not the same thing with Fernandez. I would not want him on my team, for example. But Guimaraes, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of guy that you want in midfield, doing like the hard work and stuff like that. So that will be something though. But we'll dream about that next season. Because you would think, I mean, I think Gala was saying in the comments earlier, there's a lot. I mean, you look at this off season, and it's not like, we've gotten anybody on the end of their career. These are all young guys who are approaching their like peak and stuff like that. So that's why it's so freaking ridiculous and unreal. Dude, we just signed Guehi too. Like, I mean, is it because like when we first signed the first three, we talked about it for like a freaking couple of months before. So when we signed them, they were like, oh, okay, here we go. We got the here we go kind of a deal. Is that why? I mean, I'm semi in disbelief, but it's almost like I'm not too surprised because they were working on it in the background. It was a matter of time, but it is September 1st and it's just squeaking in the last second.
I think it's just hard to process having so much quality come in one short period of time, because we've seen great windows from this club, but those windows consisted of 2 players, right? Maybe 3 that ended up being really good for the club, but we've never seen anything like this. And in a couple of years, we'll see if it ends up being. I mean, it is already being heralded as one of the best transfer windows in Premier League history. But we'll see that within 2-3 years, I think it'll rival the Chelsea window when they brought in Drogba and Carvalho and Peter Cech and Robin. I think that was what I can remember as probably the best window when you think about their impact on the team and what they did. So the disbelief is there because it feels like a FIFA career mode rebuild where you're like, all right, fuck it. Let's tear it up and let's just do some silly stuff. And let's see if these clubs actually accept. It's like, actually, you go in and you send all these offers to these clubs just for the hell of it. And then the news, you simulate the next 2 days and you get a letter from 8 clubs saying, offer's been accepted, offers. And you're like, really? And then you just go ahead. So yeah, it is a wild, wild time, and it is a great time to be a Liverpool fan. I'll tell you that.
Jacob says, where are Liverpool getting this money to spend? I mean, because they haven't spent it. I mean, look at last summer alone.
Coutinho.
About it in the beginning of the show. Even now, the net spend is less than Arsenal. But look at last summer where we didn't do anything and stuff. And this is why, I mean, you have to like kind of admire and kind of like trust the powers that be, because they definitely know what they're doing. What they did last summer, it caught a lot of grief, and we won the title. And then now you do this. It has been a great start to the season. I know it's very early going, but like I say, if you can get 9 points from those 3 fixtures, normally it's a challenge. Yes, it's the Coutinho money, and we're just like, we bought some stock, and it's really that's really taken up some tech stocks that are really the crypto money. But yeah, that is not less than Arsenal, says Richards. Maybe after Guehi.
But I think yesterday it was touched on that after Isak, the net would have still been less than Arsenal's. But I mean, I'm happy to double check it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm right all the time. If it's wrong, it's not like. But we're also not saying that it's so significantly different in the totals. Like it's if anything, it's really close. And you broke the British transfer record twice in one window. So I don't know.
Yeah. But like I say, there has been a lot of like outgoings, and Richard, if you have the numbers, man, shoot them over, because then by the time we Google and stuff, it's gonna take forever. So if you have the numbers handy, throw them out there. I know the last one I saw was really close, and that one had factored in the spend for Isak. But for, I don't know, like with the Guehi money and stuff like that, I assume we are over and above. But regardless, if you look at last year, I'm sure we were better than everybody else and stuff like that. So 400 mil spend. But what is the net spend?
Yeah,
I
we're
guess
talking
for
about
like both
net
clubs.
spend.
Yeah, 260 sold. So really, that seems low. 260 sold? That seems high, doesn't it?
That does seem high. Well,
we're not counting Elliott though yet, are we? Because we shouldn't.
No, well, because Elliott's a loan to buy, so you can't consider that, and because Villa has the obligation to buy, but they're not buying yet, so you can't consider that as part of the money that's going into the spend.
Jacob, you are. I'm trying to decipher the picture, but it's too small. United fan?
No, it's a United kit. Yeah,
it is a United kit. I'm sorry, man. My brother is a United fan. You should watch the Rival Bros show. Which we'll be doing it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now instead of the Thursday. So actually, we're recording it later tomorrow. Actually, the Rival Bros, because he's a United fan, so you will feel his pain every time we talk over here. I don't know. I'm not like taking the expectations and like throwing them over there just because of like this newness over deal, but definitely the depth you have now is kind of like a ridiculous depth in most positions, unless you lose a player that you are not able to replace within that rotation in terms of like a Van Dijk or something like that. Liverpool's, I'm trusting Wolves numbers over here. Richards sounded like he really knew for a fact, so shoot him over if you have him, man. I did not. I heard a lot about this, but what I like from Guehi overall is his passing from the back is a lot better than Konate. Like, so the diagonal you see from like Van Dijk to Mo at times, now if you have Guehi on the pitch at the same time, you will be able to see going the other way and stuff. So that's kind of like a nice thing to see. Mind you, Konate had like a really good game yesterday. I think, it was kind of like an overreaction on both him and Kirkes and like throw him into the curve and selling them right away and stuff like that. But I thought he did really well as well. But does this this is what I was thinking, especially as he's hobbling off the pitch, and hopefully it's a cramp. I guess he was saying cramp. Slot said that Konate told him he thought it was a cramp and nothing more serious. But I was thinking about that as Konate is leaving the pitch. This is a really, really risky business by Konate not to sign the extension and stuff like that, knowing his regular injury history. And now, when he came back, he kind of like took the spots back. Either it was available because like Gomez was injured or whatever. You see Gomez yesterday, by the way, he was freaking amazing, winning all those headers coming in. I thought he was really, really good. But it's really risky for Konate to not sign a contract right now because he can find himself in a spot where he's the third or fourth choice.
Yeah, I think he might be banking on the fact that with the quality history that he has, that there is going to be a big club that would be there for him, a suitor for him that could give him a contract that he's happy with. But I agree. I think, it is risky. And the thing is, on the other side, though, is we always like to see players bet on themselves. And this is the biggest bet you can make, is playing out the contract in hopes to receive a new one elsewhere that's even bigger than the one you have now, while playing as well as you can and staying as fit as you can. And if he believes that, and fair play to him. But I think, like you said, it is a risky game to play.
Yes, but like I say, like as I saw him hobbling out, and I was like, man, like if I'm his agent right now, or if I was parents right now, I would be like, man, I don't know. This was like kind of like a big gamble. It might help us sign long term, but also I don't know. Like I said, last season was the first time, man, he stayed healthy all season. So you have to see him healthy for like a full stretch before you can kind of do that. Jacob says he says the must even more important than the Prem. I don't know, man. I'm always going to be Premier League first. Is it just me? I know a lot of people are saying, we talked about this in the 24-hour podathon too. And then, we posted a clip from it and the comments were all over the place too. So it's not the same for everybody. I don't expect it to be the same for everybody. But do you think What do you think? Like, you want, if you had to win one, which one would you rather win? And does it change because we won the league last year?
In a bubble, just picking one, it's always going to be the league. But if we are looking contextually at what we had just won, then I can understand wanting to win the Champions League over the league title because it was just one. But then you have all these players: Isak, Guehi, Ekitike, Wirtz, Kirkes, Frimpong. These guys haven't won a Premier League title. So
Yes.
they're going to want to win that. I don't want to say more than someone like Mo or Van Dijk because they're competitors. They want to win everything. But I can also understand if Mo or Van Dijk want to win the Champions League just like a little more this year, knowing that they could still take care of the league if they wanted to, but their ambition is more, let's do the Champions League as well, because that was something, we've won 2 league titles together now. Let's make it 2 Champions League titles together now. So I can see that part of it, but all in all, I think the league, there's nothing like the league, because I think that's the best testament of how good you are throughout the entire season. Champions League, you get to be good in moments. The league, you have to be good all year.
Hassan has the numbers, man. Hassan, shoot the numbers. Richard took off. Richard just said that and ran away. So I don't know if he's ran to get the numbers or ran because he realized he was wrong. I don't know. I don't want to say anything because he might be right. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing I want the league for, 21, because I know it really pains United fans. I mean, Jacob can probably speak to it, when we got to 20 and matched it. And I know 21 would hurt even more. Well, I'll ask my brother tomorrow, but I'm sure it will hurt even more. So that's one reason I wanted 21. I mean, you can't cheat, Ali, and be like, yes. But I think I want the league more because I want to be that team that's dominating, right? Like, like winning titles back to back to back and making others feel like, how the hell are we going to like dethrone these guys? I want to be in that spot right there, and that's means more, because we talked about this, and I think Victor was saying it in the overnight. I can't remember, it was probably 2-3 in the morning, but in terms of, you can have a run. We were not the best team when we won the Champions League in Istanbul, right? Clearly we were not the best team, but you can have a good run and get up there. You can be a cup team and get up there. The league, like the league standings don't lie. It is like the entire season. So you got to be good. You got to be good consistently. To me, it will always like mean more. But I think, like, not that I will be like, oh, damn, we didn't win the league. We won the Champions League, kind of like disappointed. But I would want to win this back to back, hopefully, where you just like, you're like the dominant team. And not only that, these guys who have been in a chase with these, what happened to the 115 charges, by the way? We were joking about it yesterday. They just went to the cold case files. Like, what's happening? But like guys like Van Dijk and Mo and stuff, I want them walking away with like 3-4 titles and like being like an all-time Premier League great. They're already like an all-time Liverpool great, but I want them to walk away. And then so like 20 years from now, people are talking about them as like all-time greats who have won a lot, not a Charles Barkley time all-time greats, you know what I mean? But like more like a Shaq, like all-time great, where they won a lot of times. I want to be able to sit there and say, I won this kind of a deal. So I think that's where I'm at. But 18, 19, 19, 20. And I think that's like the weird thing, like the style, I think, makes a difference too. Honestly, you go back last year, and I think that's what, Slot was talking about it the other day. There weren't a lot of like huge convincing wins, even early in the season. The Slot special was 2-0 and stuff like that, but it's a matter of knowing to win. And I think Gally was talking about in the comments earlier about like, couple of years from now, there'll only be like 3-4 people left from the club era. But that's why it's important to win, so you get that winning mentality on the new guys who can give it to the new guys coming in and like pass it on. Speaking of guys passing it on and moving on, Elliott, where are you with that deal? There's a lot of like comments online and stuff like that, people disappointed, but I don't know if you saw the Mo interview, which if you have not, make sure you guys go watch that. I thought it was like really, really good. It's only like 8-9 minutes on Sky before this Arsenal game. And he talks about, and I was like, he must have told Elliott, like, go play somewhere, just be happy. Like, be happy playing as opposed to not play anywhere. So what do you make of it? I felt like it was good for Elliott. He was just not going to get the chance. And to me, like I say, I think it just opens the path for Nioni, who I think Slot values more.
Yeah, I think from an emotional side of things, having a player at the club who was a boyhood fan of the club, and to see the way that he came in, like when we announced him from Fulham, it was sort of like oh, okay, there's this kid with this really weird haircut. That's cool. And we didn't really put two pennies to it, right? We were just like, all right, that's fine. And he played for the badge week in, week out, right? I mean, he had that absolutely horrible injury against Leeds that I think really, really set back his entire career. Unfortunately, I think it was sort of like a Origi thing where you saw the potential there, and it was just an absolutely awful injury to sustain. And so I think seeing him come back from that, having moments, having some goals that we'll remember, like against Spurs, against Bournemouth, and it's just so on the emotional side, it's good to see because he deserves to play, and he deserves to go somewhere where he's going to play week in, week out because he has the talent to play week in, week out.
Yeah.
The bottom line is he's a talented guy, talented player, wonderful personality that just physically doesn't have enough to play for this club. And that's okay. That happens. Now, I understand that the fee that's being reported, it's probably a little less than we would have all wanted. But at the end of the day, he barely played last year. And it's hard to get a big money fee for a player that you didn't see a lot of. Now, I know the potential is still there. He's still young. He's only 22. And there are worse players that have sold for more. But you can't judge it that way because that's where his playing time has been. It's been rough, but I'm happy for him. And I think overall, if he's not part of the plans, he's not part of the plans. We're not going to miss him on the pitch, but I will miss him as a personality, I think, on the club.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him grow up, it feels like, right? Like, because I mean, he was like a little like a kid. So yeah, you wanted to do well, and I think it is kind of like, he should go play somewhere. But I understand. The funny thing is, if you're valuing him really at like 50-55, and I know like the chat was, you were looking at some of these other guys going for 35-40, and to us, and I think we're a little biased there, Elliott is a lot better than them. But clearly he is not, because he cannot find himself a regular spot in this Liverpool squad. And you can be a really, really good player, but not be good enough to be a regular Liverpool Football Club. That's why the club is great. That's why the team is great. I mean, you have to be like above and beyond to be able to earn that spot regularly. And I think clearly he wasn't getting it. He was not going to get it. I tried to make a case for him in the offseason. If we ever found a system that makes Wirtz thrive, he will be the closest thing we have to him, maybe, in terms of being able to like create and move and, like be agile and stuff like that. But clearly that's not the case. And I keep going back to like, having seen a lot more of like Nioni kind of like open the door for him to move up. If there's a lot of injuries, somebody was saying like, oh, we're going to have to rely on the youth and stuff. So, but this is kind of like a fandom thing, right? Like 1 second we're like, Rio should play more. And then 2 minutes later, we're like, but then we're going to have to rely on the young kids if there's injuries and stuff. It's like, you can't have it both ways. And I think I would not mind seeing Nioni regularly in the League Cup and stuff like that, because I think he's going to be a special player, really. And he has the size on top of it as well. He's kind of like growing into the body. He's kind of like becoming another Gravenberch. And I think that's what's, the club sees in him as well. So with that, Jacob, unfortunately, I had to say, man, but your pain is our joy. I mean, just ask my brother. I just love it. But yeah, I think that's the thing. And that's what I want. That's why I want to win the week title again, because I want it to be more like dominance. So David has the numbers. Thank God, Dave. 252 nets. But now we have to figure out what Arsenal is at. What was Arsenal at? It was 200 something.
What I see on my screen is 254. So 254 is more than 252.
It's refresh.
it's just the annoying thing is nothing will get, nothing is official by any of these clubs. So we won't know until at least tomorrow that we'll get our first idea of the real numbers and the real net spend. But even if there's only a 20 million difference, let's say our net spend is 20 million more, 30 million more, or even 40, 50 million more, it's still such an incredible window compared to another club like Arsenal, right? I mean, because you think about the strength of this club, not the only strength, but a big strength of this club is, at least recently too, has been selling. And you need a part of that, something that I understand the 115 charges exist, and there's a lot of shit that's going to go on there. But at the same time, City was also good at selling players for decent fees. And I think we sometimes overlook that during, from 2013 on to 2023, 24, City had a good history of selling players for pretty decent fees. And you have to be able to, from a position of strength, be able to add and be able to also obtain good amount of money for anything that is leaving as well. And I think that's a sign of a good club, of a healthy club, and of a club that has great heads at the table, because that's what it comes down to.
And that's when, you got to know when to sell while the guy has some value, instead of kind of like running into the ground or kind of like getting him too high up there in the age. I mean, Adri on Thursday still is not happy. She even put it yesterday, and I was like, come on now, like, still miss Diaz kind of a thing, because like the whole Colombian connection there. But the sale of that, could you still use Diaz? Yes. But you have to kind of look ahead to a couple of years. Like, if we had Diaz in the squad right now, would it be even better? Yes. But being able to get that money and constantly get younger, I think the reason I give this window a 10 or 9.92 or whatever the hell we decided at the end is because of what you've done for the near future. You didn't just go break records. You didn't just spend a lot of money, but you spent money on some young players that are probably only going to get better. Is Isak the oldest guy we bought?
Yes.
I know how old Guehi is, but
Guehi's 24, I thought.
Yeah, so I think like Isak is literally the oldest guy we bought at like 25. So Polo's in the house. What's going on, man? Us in the top team, so we should worry until yes. I do agree to that. I think the reason for that is they play very defensive. So it's just a matter of there are going to be games where they can get that set piece goal and stuff like that to break the deadlock. And I think that's when they're not going to lose points like City would or did yesterday, for example, where they're going to get caught on the counter and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that with like Arsenal, but you will see a lot of games where it's going to be either 0-0 or they're going to win 1-0. I mean, look at their season so far. I mean, they broke the dam against Leeds, for example, and then got loads of goals. But the first week they beat United away, which I thought was like a tough win for them, but it's from a set piece. And then they didn't score anything yesterday, and they really didn't create anything yesterday. So if you can defend their set pieces, I think Arsenal can be stopped in that sense. Eze is like in my mind, kind of like could have changed the balance of the teams, because I think he is dangerous on the left-hand side. Martinelli does not give you a whole lot, but I think it gives him that. And I agree to this. I mean, Gali is saying it. They just went out there. We said this 2 years ago, I think, Matush, when they played City away or somewhere, right? Where City was there for the taking and they went to just play it safe again. I think that's the Arteta way, where you load a midfield with defensive midfielders. And your whole thing is like, let's not concede. We'll eventually get a set piece goal. It's a winning method and formula, but I don't know if it's a title winning formula, especially when you're going against other teams who are out there constantly trying to win.
Or your name is Jose Mourinho and you're in the mid 2000s at Chelsea. That's the only other way.
But that's the thing. Like, has the game changed where that is not a formula anymore?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the game is always evolving and is always changing. So we're going to go through periods of time where there's a specific ethos of how to play. Right? We went through that tiki-taka era. Now we went through the gegenpressing era of a lot of teams doing that. And I think now we're going to a more play out from the back era, where a lot of teams are doing that. So every few years we see a specific style of play, and you have to keep adapting to that. Otherwise, you're going to kind of fall behind. And I think that's the problem with a team that spends so much money, especially spends so much money up front, to not take advantage of that is, I mean, it's a farce. I mean, you have to be, as an Arsenal fan, so annoyed and frustrated about spending big money up top only to sit back. It just doesn't make sense from that point of view. You have the quality. I know we like to joke about Gyökeres and there's a big fee, but he has some quality. You brought in Eze, you still have Martinelli. I understand Saka's hurt, but you have these guys that you brought in to play a more attacking style of football, only to not play a more attacking style of football. It's frustrating as fans of the club and as fans of the actual sport too, trying to watch what should be the premier match of the weekend. And it's sort of like we're just going to throw some slaps at each other and not really take too many risks.
Yeah, it's like they're in the corner waiting like this, and then eventually we'll get a punch in here and there, maybe, kind of a deal. Yeah, it does definitely make it fun to watch. I mean, I know, if he was more willing, I mean, it's not like Eze is like, he was just playing. Like, he's Premier League ready. He's like, ready to go. Like, it's not like he only had 15 minutes and or anything like that. That is more on him, not basically making him play and playing it safe. Because I really think, I mean, he kind of changed the game. And knowing we're playing a midfielder as a right back, why wouldn't you go after him with one of the best left wingers that you just bought? That's a mindset thing. And I think, you're kind of telling the rest of, if you're going out there as a team, you're kind of getting the same sense too. You can kind of tell the tone from the lineup or what you're going to do and stuff. And they're like, oh, we'll just hold until 70 and then we'll kind of like inject these two guys to add some offense. If that's the game plan, you could kind of tell. And honestly, when he was putting it in there, it's kind of, by then we had kind of adjusted. And I don't know if you guys watched Gary Neville after the game in his podcasting on Sky, talking about it, that as a guy who has been to Anfield and felt that pain, he was talking about when the fans get going around 60, he's like, you can already tell, oh shit, it's coming, this team is. And that's when we kind of try to dominate the midfield a bit more and started really getting some chances created, and you could tell it was coming. I know the goal is kind of from a ridiculous, never expected set piece, kind of like a free kick, but I did not hear about this. Gally was just saying, man, by the way, that Raya was complaining about the ball. What is up with them and balls?
When you have a manager that can find issues and complain about whatever it is outside of his actual players, then that his players are also going to feel that same way. You and I talked about when Klopp was here and he complained about early morning kickoffs. Then you have the players in that mentality of not up for early morning kickoffs because your manager keeps complaining about them. And you have a manager like Arteta who complains about anything he could find, then that's going to be sort of what the players end up complaining about too. And it's just the players played with the same ball, right? The whole game. I don't think unless the ball changed every time it changed possession, I don't know.
Did anybody see Tom Brady out there?
No, he's a league lower. He's in Birmingham.
Taking the air out of the balls in lower leagues. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even hear that, and that's really embarrassing. Just be like, hey, it's one of those. I know. I saw some Arsenal fans saying oh, you should not concede from that far out. But man, sometimes you just got to see a shot and be like, ugh, what are you gonna do? And it was one of those. You just say, take your hat off and be like, hey, I mean, he hit the post and went in and stuff. So I mean, he was almost there. It's one of those. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he'll do it again next week, and we'll see if it's any different or better or whatever. But great for Dom as well. Like I say in that interview, Mo was talking about how he's kind of like an emotional dude and can get up and down really easy and stuff like that, which I guess was kind of weird hearing that, because in the pod of time we were talking about potential captains for the future, and we had mentioned him, and I was like, based on this, no. from like what Mo said, kind of a deal. Because I know there's like a clip out there actually about Bickler talking about Szoboszlai being the one. And having listened to Mo there, I'm like, maybe not then. We see like a different person there. It's different when you're in the national team. You go to camp and you're like, okay, I'm here to do this. Whereas doing it 365 days, day in and day out, you have to be at a certain level to constantly lead. Whereas you can be like, I'll put my leader switch on for 2 weeks and go to the national team.
And there's a huge difference too when you are the best player of your country, of a country that isn't necessarily, top 10 in the world, if you will, like your Spains and your Frances and your Germanys, your Brazils. Typically when you have countries like Hungary, Poland, Peru, like usually your best player is your captain because they're just the best player. And not to say that he doesn't have leadership qualities and captain quality. That's just kind of what happens at the international level. And that, it's not a dig at Szoboszlai at all, because I think he does deserve to be captain of his country. It's just why it doesn't always translate, like you're saying, to the club level, because it is on a longer scale. And it's not based on your skill. It's based on everything else as well.
Speaking of national teams, it's international break. I know it's like with this transfer thing, it'll probably sink in by Wednesday or Thursday that we don't have a game coming up this weekend and we're in the international break over here. What is Poland up to?
Probably going to get smacked by the Netherlands on Thursday.
Turkey is playing Spain, I think, on Sunday or something like that.
Yeah,
that can't be good. That's not going to be good for anybody.
Van Dijk, Gakpo, Gravenberch didn't come in, and they're going to smash them 4-0 or something like that. I can already see it.
Yeah, Turkey is in the same group as Spain, so we're going for the second spot over there. I think they're playing Mamardashvili. I think they're playing against Mamardashvili later this week away, I think. So kind of like have to win that, but I'll watch that. But I mean, we'll talk a lot about transfers. Looks like there'll be a lot more happening today. We didn't even get to the whole Martinez Aston Villa saga, which I think was like, it's just becoming more and more hilarious. It's almost like United is like fucking with them at this point. So which I thought they went the wrong way. But I'll talk to my brother about that, because I know my brother was talking about getting a goalie who's actually going to be like an alley, like somebody who's going to impose himself on the back line as well, like run the back line, talk to everybody, like organize the back and stuff. And I thought Martinez was more that guy than this young dude they signed. I know he might be a thing for the future, but I think we're seeing that, goalies are very, very difficult to replace and getting the right guy over there. Meanwhile, Donnarumma is going to City. I think that's a huge upgrade for them. And Fenerbahce is getting Ederson. So there's that as well, which is interesting. I don't mind that. I think for Fenerbahce it will be a huge upgrade over there. And I heard, the rumor was Livakovic, who's at Fenerbahce right now, and he's a national team for Croatia, was supposed to go to Villa to replace Martinez. So I guess that's not going to happen now. So it should be interesting. By tonight, all this will be said and done. I'll be on with Bickler tonight. I think Gally is traveling all over the place. Gally will be gambling or something at that time. So I'll be on with Bickler. It'll be down in the window. We'll talk about the weekend. We'll talk about everything that's finalized. Maybe take a look at what teams did and everything like that. But have a great day, everybody. If you have not done so, hit that like. If you have not done so, subscribe. And if you have not done so, grab a friend by the ear and drag their butt over here to subscribe as well. Have an awesome Labor Day. Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
Labor Day. Yeah, why the hell not? Go grill. Have a good Labor Day. And we'll see you guys tonight. Take care.